Hey everybody, my name is Joseph Keene. I am the life coach and numerologist over at Infused with Love Therapy in Warwick, Rhode Island. Welcome to Numerology Minute. Just as like a precautionary thing, I like to say at the beginning, this is all just for educational purposes. There are things that within what I speak about that may or may not help for, self-awareness and other types of mental health type of things. But I am not a therapist. So, if you have any kind of emergency or things are going on and you really want to, I'm not a therapist. We're not doing talk therapy here, but we can go deep at times. So I'm encouraging anybody, I'm also doing uh, free numerology readings whenever I'm online here. So if you're listening and you're interested and you want to do like a live reading, let's do it right now. All you got to do is you got to just scan the little QR code on the left-hand side there, and you will be put in line. So with that all being said, today I would like to get into the connection between numerology and self-awareness, and even tap into a little bit of mental health stuff of like how, if you know what your life path number is, then you can understand where you're going to go mentally and just your reaction to things under stress. So when you're in a stressful situation, depending on your number, you will resort back to or revert back to a particular reaction or way of handling those situations depending on your number. So we'll just go right down the list. We'll start with 1. Um, Basically, the good things about a 1 is it's like it's an independent number. It's a self-starting. It's a courageous number. Um, it's somebody that's going to initiate things and take that first risk, and they're kind of like self-directing, right? And now what happens when a 1 gets put under some sort of stressful situation? They may lean towards trying to control things, maybe be a little bit impatient, irritable. They tend to get tension headaches, and they get like a really like snappy tone, right? You'll notice they're if they're in a stressful situation, they're telling people what to do and how to do it, doing it all. They also end up taking it upon themselves to like do everything on their own as opposed to asking for help, right? So if you're in that situation and you are a 1 life path, you should first off try to like pull back, take some deep breaths, ask for help if you know deep inside that you need it and somebody is there that is willing to help you. Like, go ahead and just ask them, because they probably want to help you. And don't try and do it all yourself. What else does this say here? What did I write down? Reset. Try to reset. Yes. Choose influence over control. So like, know that you have the power to influence people, because that's what a 1 does. A 1 is like that person that is the leader that will take the first step and show everybody things can be done. But they also can tend to be controlling sometimes. So when you're in a stressful situation, 1s, take a step back and know that you're still in quote unquote in control, but like you don't have to like be telling people in a forceful way how to do things or whatever, just take some breaths and know that you know what to do. A 2, their traits are, all about connecting with others, cooperation, um, even supporting others, just working together is what they do, right? They're very empathetic. They have a soothing presence. They're kind of like the person that, like, if you're in a team environment, like, that person is kind of like the glue. They're able to communicate with everybody on the team. So when that person gets into stress, when a number 2 gets into stress, it's they end up people pleasing because they don't want anybody to be upset. They're trying to keep everything harmonious, right? And then they end up being resentful for having to do things that they know they shouldn't have to do, right? Lots of anxiety, and it's the anxiety is from unspoken needs. That's what I wrote down there. You'll notice that they in times of stress, they're overly apologizing at times, delaying replies and delaying communication just to avoid the conflict. And then, yeah, that's they're trying to keep harmony, but if harmony is out of the picture at the moment, then they don't know what to do, and they're kind of avoiding the situations and not wanting to ruffle any feathers, and then afterwards they're like, what the fuck. So in those situations, a 2 should one clear is that I wrote clear ask and one clear no. So basically saying, like, be clear, like, just try your best to ask somebody that, or whatever the situation is, try to be decisive, make a decision, say something, right? So say the need in one sentence. I need X today. What do I need today, right? So whatever is stressing you out, just try to be clear to people around you about what is stressing you out and the details within it, so that people can understand where you're coming from and you're expressing yourself properly to them. Moving on to 3. 3 is a very expressive number. They're kind of like the storyteller. They're the fun person. They're the one that's always open, down to do fun things, and they're the ones that randomly start dancing when they hear music or whatever. They're very uplifting and creative, and they're problem solvers as well. The problem is when they get stressed or overwhelmed, or some sort of situation happens that's out of their control, they start kind of they're the ones that will deflect with humor. So, like, the ones that kind of like laugh, they'll make jokes in a situation where maybe a joke really isn't appropriate, and it's like a nervous type of thing. Their energy and their focus is very scattered when that happens, and they kind of keep some stuff in that normally they would share with everybody. So just be aware of those things. You'll know, wrote down. You'll notice joking instead of naming feelings. Yeah, they'll have like a lot of they'll have like a lot of things going on, so they'll like spread their energy thin, um, because they're kind of things aren't flowing, so they're trying to distract themselves with other energies. Um, so in those situations, the three needs to um, talk about, express what they're feeling, whether it's to themselves or to somebody else, but to just be open about their feelings about the situation. They usually try to keep that in when they need to really get it out. So it's basically everything that I'm talking about here with all these different numbers. Whenever you're in these situations, whatever the thing is that you don't want to do, that's probably the thing that you're supposed to be doing, which is easier said than done in those moments when you're stressed out. But that's what it is. Four is a very structured life path that is very orderly and consistent. Lots of routines. Uh, they're trying to have very low stress and low anxiety. They're trying to structure everything in their day so that it's all planned out and they don't have to think about anything and everything's flowing properly, right? But obviously, there's days when that shit doesn't happen, right? So then when they get all stressed out, a number four, they tend to be very rigid. So they basically double down on who they normally are. And they're like super rigid, and everything has to be overly perfect. Perfectionism is like in play there. Um, and avoidance if conditions aren't right. So they'll just kind of like bottle up and wait for the tide to settle, I guess, or whatever, you know. Um, so what they need to do is is understand that they're normally overly structured and have everything organized. So if one or two things are out of place, they need to recognize within themselves that it's okay. Like, even at that level, when you got a couple things out of place, most likely you're like 90% above most people in organization and getting things done and being consistent. So to take a break or to be off on a day or two or even a week or whatever is not a big deal. It's like you're still on your shit. You're just having some tough times. Um, so do a tiny. Yeah, I wrote like random notes and I kind of like forgot what they mean. Do a tiny mess version. Anyways, um, you know, same thing. Breathing, being aware of this is the most important part, right? So there's a lot of self awareness in everything that I'm talking about today. So whatever your number is, this is where numerology can help you in all your situations, right? If you understand what your numbers tend to go to in certain situations, and for this instance today we're talking about stress, then where your default is going to go to. And if you like that default, then I guess keep doing it. That's fine. But what I'm trying to explain to you is like there's ways to like recognize it and then alleviate some of the pressure that you're doing to yourself. We all kind of cause our own stress most of the time. We can choose to be stressed out or not. But if you are unaware of where that is coming from, then it's hard to make choices, right? And you just kind of default to whatever you've been doing your whole life. All right. So a five is very freedom oriented. Like they're like flow with the wind, and whatever's happening, they're down for whatever. It's like, hey, you want to go out right now to go grab a drink at 12 o'clock? They're like, okay, great, let's go. Whatever's happening that they're interested in, And if it's a last minute thing, they're all about it. Um, Lots of variety. They want to experiment with everything. They want to know, they want to touch everything. They want to know a little bit about everything. They want to go through the experience of it. They're very adaptable people, high energy usually. Um, let's see. So the issue when that person gets stressed out or has some sort of issues in their lives, they become impulsive. They tend to, in those times, really like they already are kind of like dopamine chasers, but when they're really feeling out of control, they're doubling down on that dopamine chase. They're going skydiving or some shit like that, you know. Um, and then during those times, they tend to be unreliable and they don't follow through. So if you're a 5, if you get stressed out, try not to be so impulsive and go jump to the first thing that you think of to avoid whatever the situation is. Try to breathe through it, think about it. Maybe there's a way you can work with somebody to fix the situation. Um, let's see. Yeah, you really need to like reel yourself in, because a 5 is like they're out. You'll pick up and move if you have to. uh, um, yeah. So moving on to a 6. 6 is like the family, the caretaker, the responsible one, the anything to do with like home and responsibility. That's who they are, right? They're very reliable and supportive. They're always trying to like uh, repair things, try to they're sometimes they end up meddling in other people's stuff just because they want to like help so much. So the problem when those 6s get stressed out and overwhelmed is they're over functioning, uh, a guilt loop, and then a resentment burnout. Like, so basically, they've probably been doing a lot for a lot of people, which is what they want to do, but sometimes they'll go a little bit too much, and then when they get overwhelmed, they will maybe start like throwing it back at you or something like, hey, I've been doing this X, Y, and Z, even though nobody asked you to do it. And then they'll be mad that they're not getting that back in return. So those are usually things that would stress out like a 6 if they're not getting the reciprocation of like, hey, thank you for doing all these things for me all the time or whatever it is. Yeah, so you'll notice that they'll start like overly doing it, doing other people's tasks, like doing your laundry, and they totally avoid their own self-care, and they'll just make sure they're catering to everybody else's needs like overly. Like they'd like to do that, but with the 6 really needs a balance. Like if you are a 6 out there, yes, that is your duty on earth, is to help and support, especially like family members and close community and stuff like that. But you have to have boundaries, and you have to take care of yourself too, because you can't take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself first. So definitely be aware of all that stuff. It's very important, especially for a 6, because you're already overly kind of doing more for others than yourself. So yeah, during those stressful times, just try to pull back. During those stressful times, try to do something for yourself. Actually, don't worry about everybody else, because yes, they might be annoyed that you're not showing up during those times, but they can only be mad they can't really be mad because you've done so much for them already, that if they were mad, they'd look like dickheads. If they were publicly mad at you, everybody would be like, dude, that your mom or whoever does like literally everything. They like do your laundry and whatever. Like you're gonna get upset with them because they didn't do one thing. Anyways, um, moving on to a seven. Seven is a very spiritual. It's a deep number, very much in your head, uh, analytical, um, inner self is the thing that comes up when I'm thinking about a seven. Is a You're very directly connected to spirit, and sometimes when um, you're just living your life, you almost assume people are reading your mind, but nobody is. So they are not catching on to all the details that you are aware of. So be aware of that. And so when the seven is in stress or has an issue in life, they tend to default towards like having these like high moral standards and truths and all this other stuff that's like great. Um, but once again, if you're not expressing yourself properly to the world, then they don't know what is going on in your head, and they don't know why you're mad because they didn't the the person didn't I don't know, understand the details of some philosophical thing that you were talking about, right? So just be aware. That's the main thing with the seven. If you're finding you're having issues in your life with people, or there's like you don't think anybody understands you or something like that, and you're feeling stressed out because of all that and it's frustrating, then reflect on yourself, think about all the things that you think about in your head, and then think about whether everybody around you knows all that stuff. Most likely not. So expressing what is in your head and verbalizing that to the people around you is incredibly important for a seven. I'm moving on to an eight. Eight is it's a powerful number. It's like the manager. It's the organizer. It's the person that knows what everybody is capable of and can put them in the right place to make sure this bigger picture thing gets accomplished, right? There is a lot of like leadership traits within an eight, um, and they have usually have pretty clear boundaries, like not to say or do certain things with these eight life paths because they've already they've already stated it very clearly of like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do this. So don't ask me to do that, right? They will state that very clearly for you, which is great. In most cases, it's good boundaries, their leadership role. The eight, you just don't want them to. Now, this is where it gets into like if they get stressed or overwhelmed or they're unaware of themselves, is they become very controlling, battle over control. Sorry about that. And what else? They get they'll get very upset. So it's like suppressed. They'll have suppressed anger that will overboil once a situation triggers that anger to come up. Finally, after it's been like buried down for so long. And yeah, I wrote like shame blow ups. So like if yeah, once again, if something triggers them from something that they shove down, it'll just explode. So they tend to get very upset, which is another reason why they're able to keep their boundaries so tight, because people don't want to cross over that because they know that it could explode, right? um so that's an eight. So what they need to do is just try in those stressful situations when maybe you have a lot on your plate and you're organizing a lot, working with a lot of people or whatever, just try to focus on one thing at a time. You know, it's a lot easier to be in control or organize the one thing as opposed to all the things. Even an eight can do all of them, multitask. The eight's a very good multitasker, but if they're not on top of their game, then they might want to just focus on one thing at a time, and then also be aware of those things that you've shoved down. And if somebody triggers you, be aware that it's not them, it's you, and it's things that you buried in with yourself. So don't get so upset at them. They didn't purposefully mean to light your fire, you know. um, 9 is a, it's a very, it's actually a fairly responsible role because they're like super compassionate. They empathize with the world, like on large scale. They're looking at the bigger picture. They're very I always forget the word, but like universally wanting to help people on like high level, right? um, So when when a 9 gets stressed, they tend to default back to like um, self. What did I write here? Sorry. they Okay. So when a 9 gets stressed out, they tend to go back into like um, self in. How do I explain this? Because I definitely wrote these notes incorrectly here. So a 9. All right, now I'm just going to go off the top of my head. Well, with a 9, a 9. I live with a 9. My wife is a 9. She can sometimes get overwhelmed in situations like they're actually highly focused on certain things, right? And if a 9 is in on the right path and they're doing the right things, then they are helping more than one people on a regular basis, right? And if they're not able to help as many people as they thought they'd be able to, then they kind of like start kind of self-sabotaging almost, and looking uh, not taking care of themselves, physically, mentally. So it's almost like the 6. So it's like a 9 and a 6. A 9 is like the next level of a 6. So the 9 is all about like directly helping people they're in contact on a regular basis, right? And that fulfills them. A 9, they also do that, but it's not as fulfilling for them as opposed to helping a large group of people or many people on a regular basis, right? So yeah, they tend to self-sabotage as well as the 6 does, and they just just stop taking care of themselves, like maybe start eating unhealthy, things like that, right? So yeah, those people need to uh, maybe actually focus more on like a 6 mentality at that time, and try to focus on like helping people directly connected to them. If you're having struggles with like creating I don't know, whatever you're doing, a foundation or like some sort of I don't know, mental health facility, and it's like going slower than you thought or whatever, and you're really frustrated and stressed out about it, then maybe try focusing on what can you do for your family, what can you do for your partner or your kids or something like that, right? and try to be a little creative and get out of that big picture thinking for a little bit. Master number 11, which is me, which is also can relate to a 2. So like high intuition, very inspirational, but super highly sensitive towards everything. Like we sense everything. We know everything. Like if somebody walks in, whether they've said it or not, we know what kind of energy that they're putting out, what they've been through, they were feeling. Like if somebody is sad or something when they walk in, I mean, people can obviously recognize it, but there's a lot of people out there that can really like put a mask on. But an 11 and like a 2 can see through that most times, right? They're very they have a creative insight. They're very open minded, uplifting most of the time, and they can see layers out further out than most. Okay. So 11, their harms, the things that they do to themselves or default back to when they're in stressful situations is they get overwhelmed, hypervigilance, their sleep is disrupted. Yeah, I can relate to all these things. It's just that, it can even be things when you're not even, you're causing your own stress really, and you just like everything is good and perfect sometimes maybe, but you're like, well, I can see that if we keep going down this path, that in like 2 years, then it's not going to pan out the way that we think, so we're like 11s are like probably like stressing out about like a year or two into the future sometimes. And just being present and meditation and just focusing on yourself and just being in the moment really helps. Being grateful for what you have and what is happening in your life right now is extremely important. Okay, moving on to, we're almost done here. Master number 22, which also relates to the 4. So if you remember, 4 is very structured, organized, right? So a master 22 is like above and beyond. It's like you're structured, organized, consistent, and you have all the capabilities of acting on like doing the actions needed to get projects done or whatever you want to manifest, whatever you're thinking of creating here. You can do it, and you can actually kind of do it all on your own if you really wanted to. So yes, they have they're basically the manifester, right? People play turn visions into plans people rely on. Okay, so when the 22 is stressed out, they tend to overstructure. They get burnt out. They're impatient. Their houses can be a mess. Their cars could be a mess. It could just like, it's like chaos, right? And then they just, it can 22. I'll tell you what, like if a 22 is not on their game, they can go into like a deep depression type thing if they're not manifesting like they're meant to be doing. It's I've seen it not look very good. So, but just know, if you are a 22, that you have the capability of turning things around at any moment whenever you feel like it. And moving forward on those actions that are in your head and getting things done. But you just have to do it. You just have to push yourself to make it happen. Yeah. So if you're feeling stressed out or whatever, and you're in those situations, do one thing at a time. Uh, leave like a 20% potential for things to not go the right way, and it's okay because you're capable of getting it done. 33, I haven't really dealt with many 33s. They're fairly rare species of humans. They're very compassionate. This is also like a heightened 6, right? So they're great teachers. They're good people for like they're basically like the community person that everybody would go to for advice and help, right? They care very deeply about people. They kind of have like this like gentle leadership, and they could be the glue of the community. Think of like your city councilman or something like that, right? So what happens when those people get stressed out is they have this compassion fatigue. So maybe they are just like tired of helping people. Maybe they kind of like their boundaries aren't very structured, and yeah, it's like basically like the 6, but it can look way worse. So what they should do if they're stressed out is say it's fine. It's like it's these things happen, and you take a little time out and you chill for a little bit. You don't have to be on point all the time, and try to once again focus on one thing at a time, schedule things out, and it'll all work out. Try to make it work out within yourself first, and then go out and help others. All right. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, but yeah, I'm gonna do these way more often now. I'm pushing myself to get out here and give you guys information on numerology and how it can help you in your day-to-day life. Particularly my focus is on combining, spiritual numerology stuff with action item life coaching, like how to combat some of these challenges in your life, and what to do about them, and how you can turn a challenge into a positive and a motivator for you to like achieve the goals and then the things that you want in life. So yeah, every day, or not every day, but I'm going to try my best to put something out there. And I'm also doing, once again, free numerology readings while I'm on here. So all you got to do is scan the QR code while I'm live, and you can pop in and we can do your reading live on air. I know some people might not want to do it live, but if you want the free reading, gotta jump on board. Also, if you look down below, we are also doing booking full-blown readings, either in person in Rhode Island, or I do virtual. Everything, your full reading is, the whole thing is recorded. Our conversation is recorded, so you can take it back with you and you can look over it afterwards. You get a full 30 plus page report, basically your Bible to your life, explaining everything from the past to the present to the future about your life. And then what else do you get with that? Yeah, so and then that's an hour-long session with me. So yeah, if you're interested in that, scan the QR code below. It'll take you to our Infused with Love therapy website, and you can book with me. And that is all I got for today. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks.